What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and this is the Nightfall Gold Tier Guide, showcasing not only how to beat this week's Nightfall from February 28th to March 7th, but also some tips for how to achieve that Gold Tier ranking to complete the Sunrise Bounty from Zavala and hopefully be blessed by RNGesus enough to get the Icebreaker Exotic Sniper Rifle. So let's get started covering this week's Nightfall by firstly showcasing this week's Nightfall Modifiers. And guys, holy crap, this week is a doozy. There is only one positive modifier, and it is Brawler. This is going to substantially increase your melee damage output. And because it is the only positive modifier, it will pretty substantially shape my recommended build. But before we talk about that, let's move on to the rest of these tragic modifiers. Firstly, we have Grounded, making you take substantially more damage if you're in the air. So if you're jumping, if you're falling, you're going to take a lot more damage from enemies. After that, we have Chaff. Your radar is disabled, so the chances of you getting flanked by an enemy is now pretty high. After that, we have Fresh Troops. This is a pretty interesting modifier because you'd think, and it's supposed to be, negative. More enemies means more ways to die. However, with the whole strike scoring system introduced, Fresh Troops is almost a good thing. Yes, there are going to be more enemies spawning than usual. So if there's a squad that usually spawns with 5 guys, now it'll spawn with like 7 guys. And yeah, that can get you killed, but also there's more enemies to kill. So you're very, very likely to get that gold tier ranking done and out of the way pretty quickly within this Nightfall. However, the current strike is not that great with Fresh Troops. There's a lot of indoor spaces, there's a lot of opportunities to be overwhelmed by just a lot of annoying enemies. So let's move on to the recommended build. Firstly, I would recommend using a hardier subclass, a more defensive subclass. I'm using a Sunsinger with Revive, and you'll see that come up several times in the background gameplay. A Defender Titan would be another great example of this, just something to defend you from the countless onslaught of enemies. Now, in terms of the rest of the recommended build, firstly, you want to make the most of Brawler. And you can see Sunsinger, we have some things selected like Flame Shield and Sunburst that are going to help with this. My number one recommended exotic to be used for this week's Nightfall is the Monte Carlo. It is like the thing you're going to want to use if it's Brawler and then no other elements involved. It's just such a fantastic weapon in and of itself, very powerful auto rifle just normally just for killing enemies, but also shooting an enemy is going to substantially increase the charge rate of your melees. And if you kill the enemy, it can just instantly recharge your melees. Like, super useful for Brawler. On top of that, a powerful shotgun I would also recommend. This strike, which is Fallen Saber, has a lot of close range engagements. Sniper rifles won't be the best in it, so a powerful shotgun is going to let you just mow down that taken captain that comes up right in front of your face. And an assault rocket launcher to round things off. As for my exotic armor piece, the Claws of Ahamkara, because I'm using a Warlock, it's going to give me another melee charge. Like, what more can you ask for? Pretty much every single class and pretty much every subclass has their own version of the claws, just giving you an extra melee charge somewhere. Whatever one you have, just use that. It's going to substantially increase your output. Because of Brawler, pretty much everything you melee is likely to die. Alright, now let's move on to the Nightfall walkthrough. As I mentioned earlier, it is Fallen Saber. And the first encounter is probably the biggest and most problematic encounter. You have to scan and activate a defensive encounter with this Warsat that has fallen out of the sky and somehow is intact. Can someone explain that to me? In any event, you have this Warsat that you have to defend, and everyone's favorite enemy is what you have to defend it from. The Taken. So you really gonna have to be on your toes for this one. The Taken are probably, like, arguably, depending on the modifiers, the hardest enemy that you can get for this encounter. The snipers are absolutely not to be trifled with. There's pretty much the worst of every other category of enemies that you're going to have to deal with. So stick close. Again, those defensive supers, a Titan with a defender bubble is so useful for this outside encounter. You can pop the bubble when you need help. You can pop the bubble over someone's body and then you can revive them a lot easier. It's just incredibly useful. Again, self-res worked for me a lot as well, but pretty much use whatever you're most comfortable with. In any event, this encounter is really just utilizing cover, which you basically don't have a lot. Your cover is essentially the Warsat. Utilize the Warsat as the main piece of cover. Go behind it and kind of poke your head out, as you'll see me often do, and then run out and engage enemies when you absolutely have to. You do not want to be out in the open because you are just going to get sniped so fast, and you really need to stay near the Warsat because you want to get it charged as quickly as possible. So it's just not the best encounter. There's a lot of negatives going on. However, if you are sticking together, if you are utilizing cover as best you can, and if you're on top of all the enemies that do spawn, you will be able to overcome this first encounter. Now, one more thing, remember that there is usually going to be a heavy ammo crate that spawns within this encounter, so don't be afraid to be rocketing or absolutely machine gunning the crap of the Taken when they initially spawn. Like, it is a pretty good idea to, you see the Taken spawn blight appear, rocket the crap out of it, kill most of the Taken that do spawn from it, and then just keep doing that until you run out of ammo, and then you go get the ammo from the crate, and then keep doing it. It is a pretty tried and true tactic that will be useful here as well. Now, moving on from that encounter, you're going to bash into every single rock on the way inside the Warmind complex into another indoor arena. This one has, again, a few enemies that spawn, and you can really see me making the most of the rocket the Taken enemies when they spawn strategy. Tried and true, copyright Cactus HD, but no, it's seriously, use rockets as much as you can. I would definitely recommend a rocket launcher over a machine gun for this Nightfall, just because there is so much Taken and it's so easy to kill them all when they're spawning in the same spot. You're going to throw a grenade, you're going to anger Rasputin, who's going to let you in because he's angry. This strike doesn't make a lot of sense. And you're going to continue to the famous, shocking hallway. It's because there's a lot of electricity there. Anyways, all you need to do is send one of your teammates up to grab the objective and make it back to put it into where you originally come into this hallway. Now, the tricky part is that while your teammate is going to be maneuvering his way around the arc obstacles and trying to take the device he picked up to the objective, there's also going to be a ton of Shanks that spawn, and they're also going to be explosive Shanks. So one of the keys to this is, firstly, you kind of have two strategies. You can try to take it slow, like grab the objective and then wait for your teammates to just kill all of the ads in your way and then kind of slowly make your way back. This is probably the best way for beginners to do it. If you have a little bit more experience or you just don't have any time on your hands, you can try to run there right away. You see us kind of fail the first time and then get it the second time. You pick it up and you basically book it as fast as you can, jumping all the way there or Titan skating or whatever you need to do to get back in time while just being behind the electrical arc that they're going to be traveling behind. And you'll see my teammate do this here. He picks up the objective, he gets right behind that arc and then just, jumps and books it all the way back. And then the enemies are spawning, but they're kind of spawning behind him. He can get past them and to the objective to, place that device while we mop up all the enemies that did spawn. Now, once you're done with that shockingly tedious hallway, I did it again, there's going to be another hallway, and this time, oh my goodness, seriously, watch out. I opened this door and I could not believe how many enemies there are. There's usually a lot of enemies, but with fresh troops, it's insane. A bunch of yellow health scions. You'll see me just kill enemies after enemies after enemies, and they keep coming. It's insane. So you're really going to want to watch out for this part. Have your rockets ready, if you have offensive supers like a Voidwalker Warlock or something like that, this is going to be where you're going to want to break it out and produce like 26 orbs. I swear, there is so many enemies in here. Really take it slow and make sure you have the opportunity to do what I did and retreat back into the shocking hallway, because you don't want to get all three of your teammates going forward into this zone. You get overwhelmed by the million fresh troops enemies and you all die because no one's retreating. So kind of poke your heads out the hallways, shoot rockets, kill enemies, whittle them down until making your full appearance and moving forward with this strike. Now, after you're done killing more enemies than are in the entire King's Fall raid, I swear, you're going to continue into the Warmind complex, and there's going to be one more batch of enemies before the final boss fight. You don't have to kill these enemies, you can run right by them, but if you're worried about points at all, you can definitely take them out. And you'll see, because we took these enemies out, we got the gold contender badge. Now that means that we 100% would have gotten it in the final boss fight, but it is nice to have, like, for sure have it done so you don't have to worry about the time bonus or anything else like that. In any event, whether you kill these enemies or not, you're going to move into the final boss encounter, and this is definitely one of the more annoying boss encounters. You're going to have to fight a giant Shank, and there's going to be a million other little Shanks. It seems like fresh troops definitely applies in the final boss fight. There's just so many guys you have to take care of, and you just really need to be on top of everything this fight, especially because there's no really beneficial modifiers that are going to help you kill this guy any faster than normal. Brawler is pretty inconsequential unless you get a Blade Dancer Hunter. We have one of those, and you'll see him using his super against the boss, and it does a lot of damage. Like, it does decent damage, but it's so risky and very, very likely that you're going to die if you try to do that. So likely the best way to do this is just whittle down the boss slowly but surely, a lot of primary fire, a lot of grenades, and then just really get on top of those ads. You're going to see whenever a new wave of ads spawn, you're going to see the text appear in the left corner of your screen that it's summoned more reinforcements. When you see this text, that means stop shooting at the boss and start shooting at the 1,000,001 Shanks that have just spawned. Now, on top of the fact that there's going to be a lot of Shanks that spawn, there's also going to be a different kind of Shank that spawns depending on how much damage you've dealt to the boss. So, after you've done a decent amount of damage to the Saber 2 boss, he's going to transform. No longer is he going to have that annoying sniper rifle on top of him. He's going to transform into a more kind of blaster style of Shank, and that's going to cause a different style of Shank to spawn as well. And then when he transforms again to the shocking Shank, that's going to cause another type to transform as well. So, first wave of enemies is going to be just normal repeater Shanks. Those, you can definitely get overwhelmed by them, but they're not too bad. The next wave, however, is going to be exploder Shanks. Like, you really, really have to focus on these, especially with chaff. Like seriously, guys, no joke, chaff is going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people within this final boss fight because it's so easy for an exploder Shank to sneak up right behind you. Like, you won't even know it's there. There's a lot of stuff going on, and then suddenly, boom, you're dead. So really just kind of be aware of the Shanks that are spawning and try to kill as many as you can. In fact, dedicating 1 or even 2 players of your team to just totally focus on the Shanks and not damage the boss is honestly not a bad idea. After the exploder Shanks, in the last wave of Shanks, it's going to be the sniper Shanks. These are a pain in the ass. It's like the phase sniper Shanks. I don't know who hired these guys, but they never miss, and they do miss. But they're just really, really annoying. They do a lot of damage, and they kind of spawn up in the top parts of the map where not many guys have spawned before. So be making sure that you're looking up there, and you'll see often me do this in the gameplay in the background. Like, as soon as they spawn, I look up there, I take them out as quickly as possible, because if you leave them up there, they'll just snipe the crap out of you no matter where you are on the map. It is not an option to ignore those sniper Shanks and just try to deal with the boss. You basically will die. Like, you have to deal with them, especially because of fresh troops. There's even more than normal. So really get on top of pretty much every wave of Shanks that spawn, kill as many as you can, and then kind of shift over to the boss. Now, in terms of the best places to hold out in this final encounter, there really isn't one. There is very minimal cover, and where there is cover kind of depends on what stage of the fight it's going to be. You're going to start where you see my team start, and then you're going to rotate back and forth between the two elevated platforms. Now, when you see the cover lower on one of these platforms, make sure you're moving to the other one where the cover is starting to elevate, just so you do have a little bit of respite from the boss shooting you. And also be aware that he can only move up the ramps, so you can kind of maneuver him in circles by going up the ramps, waiting for him to come up, and then jumping across the map or jumping down, and you'll have to go all the way around. So you can kind of lead him around and make sure he doesn't get too close and isn't able to overwhelm you. But really, it's just being mobile and being on the right side of the map, the side that has the cover. And so guys, that is it for this week's Nightfall Gold tier guide. I hope you guys enjoyed and found this helpful, and I definitely wish you luck because again, this is a relatively hard Nightfall when compared to other modifiers you can get. And if you guys want to see more Destiny content and next week's Nightfall guide, be sure to slap that subscribe button. If you actually want to be notified of new uploads, be sure to press the bell beside subscribe. If you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.